and let's record it. And we'll see what YouTube says. As far as starting stream.
Action.
Kinda, not yet. Any second now. Once you hear the echo of the loop, you'll know that okay, here we come. And there we are. We are on there live. And I think, yep, and my thing's already muted. Excellent.
Hang on.
So
I forgot actually.
Okay, let's we'll just check. You're going to check out the chat. Nobody's here yet, but people will be jumping in a second because we have good loyal followers and fans.
Yeah. Oh, there we are. Hello.
They sit anxiously by the phone. Right? That's what they do.
Over the mouse going, come on.
Come on. Where are you guys? How come you guys are not here? So no one's here yet, but we are here now on YouTube. I guess we'll talk to the archive. So welcome back to part 2 from yesterday's session. What was part 1 of our interactive mixing. This is round 2 of our interactive mixing where we did a song last month, and this is a new song. We started it yesterday, and I'm with my good buddy Johnny Lipsham over in Scotland. Johnny Scotland, I call him. We got 3 people in here now. And yeah, so we're just picking up from where we left off yesterday. We mixed kind of an acoustic track, right, Johnny? We did drums and bass. Yeah. And then today we're going to try to blast through the acoustic guitar, the fiddle. There was something else there, a lap steel guitar, I think, and a lead vocal. And then we're going to finish it up, and I will post the mix that the group does on our Facebook page. I did repost, per our request yesterday, last month's group mix, and that is now on the Facebook page as well. If you go to facebook.com/home recording made easy, you will see the Alan Evan Trios Band. That mix has a SoundCloud link, and that was in a little description there so people know what it is. That was the song we did last month at the group in the chat room. Helped Johnny and I. Well, actually, they did all the mixing. All Johnny and I did was just kind of move the faders around. And so if you're new to this, and we have 6 people here now, if you're new to this and you've never seen us do interactive mixing before, welcome. This is kind of a new concept that Johnny and I kind of cooked up, and basically it's kind of simple. We thought it'd be a great interactive way to work with you all in the chat, which is Johnny and I pick the song every month. We decide on a select amount of plugins that we're going to use from different manufacturers, everything from stock plugins to a whole host of third-party different plugins. And then what happens is that's it. You guys actually listen to the song. We bring it up in Studio One. You guys, the audience, decides what we're going to do as far as compression, EQ, what compressors and EQs we're going to use based on the selection that's available to us that month. And then you're going to help make all the mixing decisions. And Johnny and I are just going to monitor the chat room and move the stuff in Studio One, and then at the end of the song I'll export it, put it up on our Facebook page, and this way we kind of mix the song together, and we get to learn from each other. So we talked a little bit about compression and stuff yesterday, and we're just going to kind of pick up from where we left off yesterday. Did I hit everything, Johnny, on that? I think so.
That was very thorough.
Well, that was more thorough than I thought I could be.
Yeah, and you didn't pause for breath. Are you circular breathing? I don't know.
Well, I just came back from eating pizza, so I'm a little winded and having a hard time. So so we have 9 people here today right now, and we could wait a couple minutes. If everyone can hear us okay, just go ahead and say in the chat that you guys can hear us. Jump in, let us know that you can see and hear everything. You should see Johnny and I on kind of a split screen. I'll pull up Studio One in a second. Let me know who's here, where you're from. And there's always going to be a slight delay on YouTube of anywhere from 3 to 6 or 7 seconds. So as we're asking questions, we know that it's going to take a few minutes to get to you, and then you guys are going to respond, and it's going to take us a few minutes to check the answers.
Well, it's the room.
Here we go. So everyone's coming in now. Okay, cool. You can see and hear everything. That's really, really cool. We got 9 people hanging out. Again, this wasn't scheduled, and we apologize. What we're going to start doing next month, Johnny and I just talked about before we got on live here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do the whole song in one session. And then what I will do in the post-production is I will cut the video up into part 1, part 2. And if there's a longer session, I'll even cut it up into part 3. And I'll label everything accordingly so you don't have to sit through a 3-hour video if you happen to be catching this in the archive and not live. And so we've already scheduled next month's interactive mixing session. If you go to the Facebook page and you follow me on Facebook and Home Recording Made Easy, you will see a post up there. I believe it's the I want to say it's the 17th of June, maybe, or the 20th of June. It's the 2nd or 3rd Saturday of June. I forget. I think it's the 2nd Saturday of June, which is probably the 17th.
Yeah, I believe so.
And then the 20th, which I believe is the following week, or 2 weeks later, the 27th, I forget. Johnny has to look that up. I forget. I did it this morning. We have our normal YouTube live monthly broadcast where, again, I'll pull up some mixing stuff and we'll do some different demonstrations and we'll take a bunch of questions and answers and those kinds of things. So we're planning on.
It's a Tuesday.
No, well, it's the second Saturday of June. I forget what date it is.
Second Saturday of June is the 17th.
That's
no,
it.
the 10th. The 10th, the second.
No, the third. The third. It's the 17th. So the 17th of June will be the next 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be the next interactive mixing session like this. And then the following week, which I believe is the 17th, 23rd, 24th, that's our monthly broadcast. But if you just go to Home Recording Made Easy on Facebook, it's all there. Okay, so there you go. So we got 10 people here watching. Hi, Joe. How are you? Emmanuel, how are you? The future's back again from Washington, D.C. Really, Lone Wolf 368 is from UK. Awesome. How are you? Thanks for joining us. Some of you I recognize from yesterday. Some of you may not have been at yesterday's session. So again, we're here doing interactive mixing. And again, this will be in the archive. You can always go back and watch the intro. So what I'm going to do now is let me pull up Studio One, Johnny, and say goodbye to Johnny there for a second. And I'll switch cameras here because you're going to need that. We're going to go to camera number 3. And camera number 3 should be Studio One, and you should see me in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And you should hear Johnny, but you won't see Johnny.
Yes, I'm still lubricating the voice. As you can hear it, it's a little less husky. I'm feeling much better today.
You were playing and performing all day today, yes?
I was singing and bass playing all day yesterday and today with laryngitis. So
excellent. That's cool. So, okay, so we got 10 people here. So this is just to kind of recap where we left off yesterday. So this is a song. The artist's name is Marcy Each. The name of the track is Falling in Love with a Girl. All we did yesterday was work on the drums and the bass, which you can see down here in brown as our drums are soloed up in our bass. And I'll play that back for you in a second so you can hear where we're kind of at. And I'll actually turn on the other tracks as well. So if you did not hear the song yesterday, you kind of know what song we're dealing with. And then we'll just take a quick walk through what plugins we've used thus far. So here is Marcy Each, Falling in Love with a Girl. Hopefully.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart. I bet you think it starts with a ring and a fancy car. I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way you are. But baby, don't you do what you're about to do. Just wait before you go too far. This ain't an ocean that will lead you back to shore. This ain't a mountain you have ever climbed before. This ain't a promise you can make and then ignore. 'Cause you just ain't falling in love. You're falling in love with a girl. Falling in love with a girl.
Okay, so there's the song just repeated in the second and third verse and chorus. So here's our finished drum sound that we talked about yesterday. Let me know if you guys can hear that okay, or if it's a little quiet, I'll turn it up. I just don't want Studio One to clip. You let me know how the audio is, everyone.
yeah, it was quite a long way away from clipping there, Dave.
Okay.
It's pretty quiet.
I could turn it up even more if you want. How's that?
Well, I'm having trouble with YouTube. Yeah, it's cool.
Audio sounds good? Okay, so here's where we left it off with drums and bass. So let's just loop a section here. You all let me know in the chat, or let Johnny know in the chat, if our audio for Studio One is clipping or not loud enough. It should be good. Sounds good, Joe says. Awesome. Okay, over there, Lone Wolf. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, so let's start on the master bus. This is what we did on the master bus, just to do a recap. So we used the Presonus stock compressor because that's what the group decided to do. Remember, the group is picking all the plugins. Oh, and for this session, we're using all stock plugins, and we have a choice of using 2 universal audio plugins, either the Pultec EQ or the LA2A. Okay, those are the only 2 outside of the stock plugins you're allowed to use. So the group decided to pick the Studio One stock compressor. We're doing a 2-to-1 ratio on the master bus. We're doing a 30 millisecond attack and 100 millisecond release. And this is kind of what we're getting for compression. You can take a look at the gain reduction meter here. Couple of dB maybe, not much. About 2 dB. Okay, then from there, we're going over to the Pro EQ. And we have a little bit of a shelf here at about 9K, about 2.5 dB. Okay, so that's our master bus. On our drum bus, we'll walk through the drums quickly just to show you what we did. We have 1 bus compressor. The group decided yesterday to just compress on the drum bus, and they wanted to pick the LA2A. Oops, did I leave a camera here? Oh, sorry about that. What happened there? That wasn't what the heck happened? Oh, Studio One crashed on us, folks. How about that? We're going to leave that in live.
Oh, no.
We'll open it again. Sorry about that, everyone. Have no fear.
Okay.
This is why you do command save, because no matter what you say, you will have a DAW crash, even though that's probably only the 3rd or 4th time in the 3 or 4 years I've used Studio One I've ever had a crash. It usually doesn't happen. So it does happen, but not as often as Pro Tools, I can tell you that. Okay, so let's open this up again. All right, let's hope that doesn't... Command save, everybody. All right, so that could have been maybe the Universal Audio plugin. I opened up the LA2 and then it went out. Okay, so we should be able to still see. Okay, the screen should look good still. Okay, so on our drum bus, once again, we use the LA2A. And what I will do is we'll play back just a little bit of the drums so you can see what we're doing for compression. Not a whole heck of a lot, probably 3 dB.
You got away and you say that's just the way you are.
Let me get the rest of the tracks. 2 to 3 dB, okay? Not doing a ton of compression there. And the reason why we're doing that is because we're not compressing anywhere on the individual drum tracks. Again, that was a decision of the group. We're using pretty much the Pro EQ across all the drums. Kick, snare, hi-hats, toms, and overheads. And on the bass, same thing. We're just using an EQ, and we decided yesterday to not compress it, right, Johnny? We said we weren't going to compress the bass. The group decided there wasn't a need to, even on the bus.
That's correct.
Okay, so is everyone kind of with us and where we're at? We have 14 people here. Everybody, how you doing? And we will move over to the acoustic guitar now. So again, once again, you can use any stock plugin, or you can use the Pultec EQ by Universal Audio or the LA2A for your compressor. So here is the acoustic guitar. We'll start off kind of in the beginning where it's a little bit more subdued, and then she gets into some strumming here. So let's take a listen, and you guys start thinking about EQ or compression if you'd like to use any.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart.
So first thing we hear there is that we hear the lead vocal, right? She played guitar and sang this at the same time, so they're not completely isolated. So just keep that in mind, that the vocals are muted. This came through on the acoustic guitar track.
I bet you think it starts with a ring and a fancy car. I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart.
So start thinking about anything you guys want to do to this processing-wise.
I bet you think it starts with a ring and a fancy car. I'm sure you got away and you say that's just the way. I bet you think.
Okay, what are we thinking, Johnny? Anything go on in the chat? EQ or compression? Would you like to start with, if anything? And if we don't get any answers, and Johnny will usually jump in and decide what he wants to do to the mix, which is totally fine as well. So there's our acoustic guitar. Again, the vocal is bleeding in.
Okay, I'm just having a look at the chat. Yeah, Joe Russell. I was about to say what I was about to say, which is low cut.
Okay, what EQ do you want to guys use? You want to use the Pultec by Universal Audio, or do you want to use the good old Pro EQ by Presonus Studio One? It's up to you. And then we can cut that low end.
Okay, what do you reckon, Joe? I'm asking you. The future says
Presonus. Anyone second that? Presonus?
Yeah, Pro EQ.
Okay. Now if I can just find it. We do this every single time. I can never find it. Okay, there it is. So acoustic guitar, and we said cut the low end. So where do we want to cut? We just want to do a low cut filter here, and where do you want to go? We can just kind of find.
I'd say maybe just find the low rumble that we don't want.
Back it off a little.
Back, yeah. Because it's nicely recorded. We don't want to lose too much of the body of that guitar.
It's around 125.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to do?
Yeah, Joe says 60 hertz, but we've kind of rolled that off anyway.
Well, we're rolling off at 120 hertz, so we're getting rid of a lot more than that. Now we can cut it back a little bit if you just want to, if you want the low cut 60 and below and let everything from 60 and above go through, or do you want to? So we were cutting a lot off higher than that, but we can move it back to about 60. Here's 60.
Joe is saying a 2 dB, but he does. Is that a 2 dB cut, Joe? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, 60 hertz. Do what to it, Joe? Do we cut it? Do we boost it? Right now, I'm just using a low cut filter, so I'm just rolling everything off below 60 hertz. But we don't have to do that. If you think we should do something different based on what you're hearing, we can.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Anyone else have any ideas for what they want to do here?
Otherwise, I'm going to jump in.
Okay, Johnny, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm thinking keep that high pass filter where we have it just now.
Right now, about 60. It's around 68 hertz right
Yeah,
now. Okay.
I think it's okay just now, but I mean we are in solo, so we might have to roll it further up in context.
Well, we got the bass going on and we got the drums going on, so we're not completely in solo.
Right.
We do have the rhythm section there. So
of course. So it's a little dark sounding, isn't it?
I don't know. You guys tell me. The rocker says cut with the Pro EQ, knock down the transients with the Pro compressor, then sweetening with the Pultec EQ. Woo! There's
there
three.
You go.
Oh, yeah, sounds good, guys. Okay, so the rocker says, okay, so the rocker says cut with the Pro EQ, which we did, knock down the transients with the Pro compressor, and then sweeten with the Pultec. Okay, we could do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's get the compressor, and then we'll put the Pultec on it and sweeten it up. Good idea.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Especially the Pultec at the end.
So here we go with the Pro compressor. And we can go ahead and what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do for ratio? 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1, attack, release, fast attack, slow attack, medium attack. Give me an idea what you want to do.
The rocker, aka Rich Westfall.
You can pick a preset. Acoustic guitar.
Acoustic guitar, 2-to-1 ratio has to be, doesn't it? Really?
Now they got a 6-to-1 ratio on this one.
Was it?
So there we go. So yeah. So we could let's stick with the we have no No one kind of responded on this, so we'll just go. We could pick the preset 6-1.
I'm sure you got away and you say
Score
it's
C.
just the way. I bet you think you know
Yeah,
the way.
I would say not too heavy compressed.
Okay, so let's back it down to like say 4-1.
Yeah, 4-1, maybe. Oh, Rich says 50 millisecond attack, 100 millisecond release.
50 millisecond attack. You got it. I should just type it in, right? 100 millisecond release. You got it. Okay. How much compression are we looking for? We're running about 3 dB right now.
Yeah, 3 dB. Oh, we've lost the camera there.
Oh, we lost the camera again? Did we
Yeah, we
really?
lost it.
Oh, you know why? I know why. Because I keep hitting the. It's
you
camera
keep
3.
hitting-
Yeah. You know what it is? It's because I'm programmed the keys to the. I shouldn't have done that. I should just do it with the mouse. What's going on here? There we go. I'm just so used to going to the keypad. Sorry, folks. Okay, so right now we're running at about, I don't know, 5 dB of compression.
That might be overkicking it. Yeah, I reckon 3 dB is probably good.
We're about 3 dB right now.
Yeah, that's probably good.
See when she picks it up a little.
I'm sure you got away and you say that's just the way. I bet you.
So in the finger picking quiet parts around 3 dB, when she starts to strum a little bit, it's more like 6 dB. 4-1 ratio, 50 milliseconds on the attack, 100 milliseconds on the release. Does that sound good for now?
Very soft knee there as well. Isn't
Soft knee, yep. And then he said wants follow up with the Pultec. Good idea. So we need the Pultec Pro, Pultec EQ P1A. Okay.
Yeah, Joe here says too boomy with 5 dB.
The compressor, you mean?
Yeah. I
Okay.
think it's that you know, the hand slap on the backbeat on the guitar.
We can.
There's quite a lot of the heel of the hand coming down on the string, so maybe the high pass needs to go up a little bit.
I'm sure you got away.
Yeah, Rich says might need to
now-
cut the wind.
Now we're on 4 dB of compression. So I lowered the or raised the threshold a little bit.
Right.
Still a tad boomy. Okay, well we can use the Pultec to fix that, or we can go back to the Pro EQ.
Yeah, we probably need to go back to the Pro EQ.
Okay, we're here. We are Pro EQ.
Where you are. I'm sure you got away and you say that's just the way you are.
Okay,
Maybe put
so
that
it's a tad bit boomy. Tad Joe says, and I would agree. So if
Yeah.
you guys were around yesterday, if do you remember the technique? I don't know who was. Well, the future was here. There was a technique I showed. If you're not sure where to start, as far as trying to find where that boominess is, a good way to do it is just take a point here. Let's tighten up the Q, and let's go kind of fishing and kind of sweep around and see if we can find that real boominess. It's all in here.
I'm sure you got away and you say that's just the way.
Yep, around about 200.
And then back it off.
Yeah, there's the spot.
You got away and you say that's just the way you are.
So that's around 145 hertz. We're doing about a 7 dB cut to kind of get rid of some of that boominess. How does that sound? A little bit better? Jesse's saying cut the low on the guitar. That's what we've done here.
I'm sure you got away and you say that's just the way you are.
Yeah, I think that's better.
Okay, now if we go over to let's go over the compressor and see what that kind of did to us.
I'm sure you got away and you say that's just the way you are. I'm sure you got away and you say that's just the way you are. I'm sure you got away and you say that's just the way you are.
So we're doing about 3 dB-ish. 2.5 to 3.5, depending on, you know, the transient, but it's pretty close. Okay, so that's better, everyone says. Okay, cool. So now let's move over to the Pultec, because someone had recommended we sweeten it up with the Pultec. So if you don't know how the Pultec kind of works or the layout of this, if you've never used one, let me just show you quickly. It's really kind of simple. You have your 3 knobs here, this boost knob and this attenuation knob. And oh, by the way, if you're not watching this in 1080p, you should be, because you'll be able to see better resolutions on the plugins if you can do that in your settings on YouTube. So the boost and the attenuation knobs here work with this low frequency selector. So it's a stepped selector. So we have 20 hertz, 30 hertz, 60 hertz, 100 hertz, and we can boost or attenuate, cut by up to 10 dB. Okay? Those 3 knobs work together. Here in the center, this bandwidth, which is the Q, really, is adjustable. 1 is very narrow, very sharp, and 10 is very wide or broad, okay? That works with the high frequency selector and the boost knob only, okay? Not the attenuation knob. The boost knob, the high frequency selector, and the Q, or the bandwidth, work together. So the high frequencies, we have 3, 4, 5K, 8K, 10K, 12K, 16K, and you can boost it up to 10 dB. The attenuation knob works with the attenuation selector here for 5K, 10K, 20K, and you can attenuate up to 10 dB. And then we can bypass the plugin by doing this. Okay? So, now having said all that, we said we wanted to kind of sweeten it. What do we got going on in the chat, Johnny, as far as the Pultec and what we want to try to do there? Sweeten it means we probably want to bring in more of the high frequencies, not the low frequencies, seeing as we spent most of our time cutting the low frequencies.
People are still thinking about the low end here.
Okay.
Jesse Balfour says, I reckon we need to roll the high pass filter on the guitar up to around 180.
That's originally where it was, and the group said bring it down to 60. And we
Right.
opted at 68. So if we could try that, let's try that. We could change anything. So we originally had it way up here.
I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way you are. I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way you are.
So that's
Pretty
100
much.
and, that's 174 hertz.
Pretty much does the same thing.
Same
as-
kind of thing. Yeah, we end up with the same result. I mean, it is a little bit boomy, and it's also to the way she's playing. She's playing and she's slapping. It's a very percussive thing. You're not going to get rid of all that, and you really don't want to get rid of all that. I mean, that's part of the vibe of the song. We don't want to cut that out completely and make it sound really thin. So think about that. Also, too, with the Pultec, if we're going to sweeten up the top end, it's gonna tame. It's gonna sound like the bottom end's tamed a little bit more too. And the tubes will warm this up a little more as well. So here, where do we want to do on the Pultec?
5K is being suggested.
Boosted 5K. Okay. So let's just do it with a medium-sized Q just to kind of keep things simple, and we'll boost it.
I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way you are.
Before.
I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way you are.
That's after. The other thing we can do, if you want, we can even take 100 and we can attenuate that a little.
I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way you are.
Controls that bottom end a little.
You got a way and you say that's just the way you are.
It's before.
I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way
After.
you are.
Okay, how are we liking that? Remember, the lead vocal's bleeding in there, and there's no way to get rid of that. So that's part of it almost seems like you don't need a lead vocal track. It sounds like it's a whole nother track. But that's
Yeah.
cool. I mean, that's part of it, okay? So there we go. So do we have anything else on this Pultec we want to do, Johnny?
Jess is saying maybe a little less around, maybe a little lower around 3K.
Oh, as opposed to 5. Okay, let's try that. So here's 5K, and then on the second time around, I'll go to 3K.
I'm sure you got a way, and you say that's just the way you are.
Here's 3K.
I'm sure you got a way, and you say that's just the way you are.
What do you guys think? 5K, 3K? Does anybody want to try 4K?
Right in the middle.
Either way, it sounds pretty good. But it's up to the folks in the chat, the 15 people that are hanging out and working with us. This is great. I mean, we can always come back to it once we bring some of the other instrumentation in. We don't have to make any final decisions right at this particular moment in time. We should probably move on. The rocker says try 3Q, -3 attenuate at the same at 3 dB. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, try a 3Q. Okay, so you're just you're just sharpening up the Q.
The Q, yeah.
You can't, attenuate at the same. Remember, the attenuation is at 5K, not at 3. So if you want to put the attenuation at 5 on the high frequency and then attenuate it, we can.
I'm sure you got a way, and you say that's just the way you are. I'm sure you got a way, and you
4.
say that's just the way you are. I'm sure you got a way, and you say that's just
After.
the way you are.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good.
Rich says 5K, same attenuation.
That's what we did. We did an attenuation at 5K.
5K, yeah.
Yes, it's at 5, 10, or 20. We did 5, about 3 dB-ish. So, okay, we kind of all good on this acoustic. Let's move on to the, Johnny, you think we're good? At least for now?
Yeah, I think so for now, yeah.
Okay, let's go over to the lap steel. Not a whole lot of lap steel. Well, there is. Let me see what we got going on with the lap steel here.
I'm looking forward to this lap steel.
Oh, I got to get us a bigger loop than that. Let's see. See if I can find a place with it. Oh, here we go. We're kind of playing a little bit more over in this section.
Yeah, Rich says he meant 5K, not 3 the first time, I think. Is that right?
Say again?
I think he meant 5K, not 3. There is a delay with the chat here, I think.
Okay.
Sounding better here, he says. Try in the mix.
Okay. Let's leave the acoustic for now.
Yeah.
Lap steel. So here's the lap steel. Okay, so that's kind of the loop. I mean, there's other sparse sections, but let's do something where we can actually see the loop. So we're right in this, or actually we can move it over a little bit here too, if we wanted to. Give you a little bit more audio. Okay. So there's our lap steel.
That's nice.
Anything we want to do to that? EQ, compression, or leave it alone? Those are our 3 choices today.
Nothing in the chat yet on the lap steel.
Any thoughts, Johnny, on it? Any thoughts in the chat on the lap steel? Or do you guys like the way it sounds? We can leave it alone. We don't need to touch it at all if it sounds good.
I think it sounds good, but I mean, there's nothing coming through on the chat yet.
Okay. We can move over to the fiddle
Yeah.
while people are thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah. Let's have a look at the fiddle, and then
We can always go back as we're blending things together. We can always go back and tweak things.
Oh, Jesse Balfour asks for a little distortion on the lap steel.
A little distortion. Okay, sure. Do you just want to? We can use what is it called? The red light.
Red light. Yeah, you have to be very gentle with the red
Yeah,
light.
because that goes wild, right? Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it. Here it is.
I used it on a trumpet recently on a mix.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it sounded great.
So this is going to be on the lap steel now. So let's
Yeah.
let's turn down the drive quite a bit here. And we'll start and we'll kind of. I got to get over here to the lap steel now.
Maybe a splash of reverb as well would be good for
We're lowered in the mix.
Yeah.
Give you a little drive.
Yeah, that's nice. Maybe a splash of a reverb of some kind.
So there's our distortion.
Cool. Got some requests for some reverb.
Sounds pretty good, right? We can leave that on there. I mean, it's subtle, but it's good. Good call. Whoever made that call, that was nice. That sweetened it up nice. A little reverb.
Yes.
Do you want to just use it as a send, or do you want to drop the reverb on as an insert?
I'd have it as a send because if I know we might want to send vocal to it later.
Okay, let's add an effects channel.
There's some EQ stuff to come as well on this when you're ready, Dave.
What's that?
Some EQ stuff to come when you're ready.
Okay, so we're gonna throw just a room reverb. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't know. What do you want? You just want to pick a preset? What do you want to do with the reverb here? This is for the lap steel.
Yeah, let's go for like a hall or something.
Something like a hall. Here's like a
something a little bit roomy that you can kind of just have as an ambiance.
Medium club, medium studio, large club. That might be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's solo safe this up. Bring this down. This has got to go to the. I'll put it down to the acoustic guitar bus for now, and then lap steel. Right. So we're going to send that over to the reverb. Let's see what we got. We'll pre-fader this. I'll send a healthy signal in there. That's a haul, all right. You guys like that kind of a reverb for this? I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, we can always change it later. How's that? Is that a good reverb for this?
Yeah.
We can always tweak it. Someone said you said some EQ, Johnny, right? What were we looking to go back and EQ?
Yeah. So Pro EQ.
What track? Oh, on the lap steel?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because we didn't do anything. We just put a distortion on it, right?
I haven't got to that.
All right. So we'll go ahead and we'll EQ it we'll EQ it. Okay. And what do we want to do there? Let me try to loop a section of lap steel here.
Pro EQ cut about 700.
700.
And a high shelf at 6K.
Okay, let's start with the 700. Cut 700. It's about 700. Okay, so that's about a 6 dB cut at 690, which is where, it seems like it gets a little hollow. What else
Yeah.
do we want to do for EQ? Someone said something about a high shelf or something?
High shelf at 6K.
A boost or a cut? Boost, I would.
Yeah, I'd say a boost probably.
Okay. You said about 6K?
6K, 3 dB.
Okay, 6K, 3 dB. Okay, here's before the EQ. After. How's that?
That's cool.
Okay.
Can I make some suggestions with this reverb?
Uh-huh. Sure, of course you can.
Can I suggest we high pass filter the reverb on the actual effects channel?
Oh, on the channel itself. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you could do that on this reverb, can you? No, not on
You
this.
put it after the reverb.
Yeah, I can put an
Yeah,
EQ. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Some reverbs you can do it on the reverb itself, but not this one. Okay, so you want to do a high pass on the reverb.
Yeah.
What about where do you want to kind of go?
Probably about, maybe 140, 150. Get some of the low end out of the reverb. So, and I guess we want to make this sort of like an ambient rather than an effect, so to speak.
Okay, so there's like a 170 roll off. So I pulled the reverb back a little bit so it wasn't as obvious. How's that?
I think that sounds better.
Okay. Anything else to this lap steel? Where we did some distortion and we did a little bit of EQ. What do we want to do next? Anything? Do we need to compress? And we sent it to a reverb. So do we want anything else we want to do, or should we move on to the fiddle?
Yeah, final EQ decision on this lap steel,
Yes.
which would be a high pass filter at 160.
160. Here you go.
Because there's not a whole lot down there that's necessary.
How's that? Are we happy with that?
Yeah, I think so. For me,
Okay.
anyway.
How's the group? The group feel happy about that for now? We can move on to the fiddle.
Yeah. Oh, Johnny Gibe is in.
Johnny Gibe, how are you? Good to see you, buddy. Haven't
He says
seen you in a while.
nifty.
I haven't
There's a
seen you in
word.
a while. Excuse me. So we're on to the fiddle. So let's listen to the fiddle, and then you guys tell me and Johnny what you like, what you don't like. What do you want to do?
Johnny Gibe says it sounds smooth. Yeah, Johnny says he's been fighting computer issues.
What's that? There's our fiddle. So anything we want to do? Excuse me. I'm coming down with a cold. Okay, so there's our fiddle. Remember, there's no processing done to that. It's a little louder than the mix, and it probably needs to be just so you all can hear it. So let's listen through this pass again, and we need some EQ and or compression decisions to be made. What do we all think? Or we don't have to do anything to it if we like the way it sounds. It was very well recorded.
Johnny said the fiddle could come down a bit, but we're boosting it.
Yeah, we're boosting it on purpose so everyone in the chat can hear it. It's loud, but I want them to hear it in case they want to make any EQ and compression decisions, and then I can lower it back in the mix. It is loud right now.
Yeah. The fun part for this, I think, is the fiddle lives in the same kind of frequency spectrum as the lap steel.
It sure does.
So the fun bit is going to be separating these out.
Well, over YouTube, over Wirecast, you know, we would pan these. I mean, I would probably pan these a little bit. I'd let the acoustic guitar come up the center, put the lap steel on the left, maybe, and the fiddle on the right. But you're not going to hear that on YouTube based on our Wirecast software. So right now we're kind of like we're mixing in mono. So if we that's a good point, Johnny. You just kind of refresh something in my memory because a couple of weeks ago, you, myself, and Johnny Guy talked about mixing in mono. And here's one of the challenges when you're listening in mono or you're mixing in mono. We have two instruments that really live in the same darn frequency range. So how do we separate them? What we could say in this example, we really can't pan them. So what do? There's a couple of tricks, but I'm wondering if the chat maybe has a couple of suggestions on what would you do? What do you do if you're let's say we're mixing 4 mono, let's just say, and we have two instruments that are going to compete for the same frequencies. So what do we do?
Okay.
What do you think? We can give the answer, or we can just let it kind of float out there and kind of see.
Well, I think we're dealing with quite a substantial delay with the chat here.
We are probably. It's a YouTube thing.
Yeah, I think it's about a 30-second delay here.
Wow, wait, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
what do you think, John? What do you think we ought to do here? So if we listen to this again.
Yeah, I'm thinking complementary EQ time.
And if we bring the fiddle down so it's like in balance with the lap steel volume wise.
Uh-huh.
What do you guys think?
You could almost do the opposite EQ to
That's exactly what I would have suggested. I was waiting to see if anybody picked it up. So you could take a look at your lap steel and you can say, well, if we cut here and we boosted here, we don't want to do the same thing on the fiddle because then everything's going to compete even more. You can either just kind of leave it. You can either decide that, you know what, maybe one instrument is just going to be a little more loud in the mix. I mean, that's just a kind of a creative decision if that's what you want to do. Or you can do the opposite EQ and you can cut this shelf, and I wouldn't necessarily boost 500 hertz, but I would maybe flatline it. And maybe even bring the low cut back a little bit, and that'll separate those two a tiny bit. Which we can try while we're waiting for people.
We're getting confirmation of that now.
Okay. I don't know how the delay is going on the chat there. Okay, so cool. So let's start off with that Pro EQ again, or do we want to use a different EQ? So here's another trick. So we said, and Johnny Geib is just joining us. He doesn't know this yet. So Johnny, our rules for this particular interactive mixing session is that we can use all stock plugins, Presonus, right? And then we can use only 2 universal audio plugins. We can use either the Pultec EQ or we can use the LA2A compressor. Okay, so we have stock plugins and those 2 pieces of analog hardware. That's it. Can't use anything else. Those are our choices, and we've used a couple of those throughout this mix. Not many, just a couple. So having said that, the other thing we could do here on the fiddle is you can EQ this with a different EQ. Okay, you can use something that's going to sound tonally real different. And that could be another way to kind of separate things. So we could try that. Let's first start with the Pro EQ, and let's just do the exact opposite as far as we could just take the one on the lap steel. We could just drag it over here, and then we can just we'll just turn off this. Maybe we'll bring the low cut back a little bit more because it's not a real bottom heavy ended instrument anyway. And then we can take this and take this out about 3 dB. Okay. So now that's kind of the exact, the flip side of what we did on the lap steel guitar. Okay, so let's see how that kind of balances them, if it does. And then what I would do here, again, trying not to interject too much of but what I would do here, because the fiddle really picks up the chorus melody, and the lap steel is just using accents. So what I would probably do is let the fiddle kind of ride above the lap steel in this mix, just because
Yeah,
you want to hear that fiddle on that chorus, right?
yeah, a bit of automation.
Do something like that. Now also remember too, the lead vocal you hear is coming through on the acoustic guitar mic. We have not done the lead vocal yet. So if it sounds like the vocal's too quiet, we haven't even gotten to the vocal yet, okay? So that's bleed in the acoustic guitar mic. So just keep that in mind. So that's kind of the pro EQ we did on the fiddle. Now do we want to do anything with compression, or do we want to do anything different with this EQ? Let's see what the chat wants to do. And if there's nothing there, Johnny, I'll ask you. And if not, you don't have any ideas, I'll ask Johnny Geib. We'll let Johnny Geib gets to answer last too. He has to come in last. We can let everyone else, because I know Johnny's probably got 4 or 5 ideas already. But we're gonna let everyone else kind of jump in first. Let's see.
Yeah, Johnny is saying place a slight reverb on the fiddle to give its own ambient space. Put it in as an insert.
Okay, we can do that while everyone else is kind of thinking about what they want to do, maybe from a compression point of view. So let's want to use the room reverb. I mean, I guess that's as good as any, right? We'll put it on as an insert on the fiddle, right? Is that what he said? Yeah, on the fiddle.
Yep.
And what do we want to do here? Do we want to use? I mean, if we started with a preset, what we want to use, like a small, medium, hall, club. What are you kind of thinking, Johnny, as far as the size of this thing?
Yeah, Johnny's saying use the mix verb.
Oh, okay, sure. We could do that. Mix verb. That would be in alphabetical order, wouldn't it? Oh, I'm looking at the presets. No wonder I can't find it. All right, here we go. It's going to be up, M. Mix verb. All right. Fiddle, mix verb. There we go. Okay. Not a plugin I'm all that familiar with, but we have a lot of presets.
Johnny says there is a violin preset in the instruments preset.
Well, how about that? Okay. There is?
I did not know that.
There's a violin preset? I don't see anything that says violin on it.
Yeah.
I mean, we could pick something that's close. My guess is here's a large hall, which might sound nice. And we could turn down the mix a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, that large hall would be all right. Eh?
Sounds good.
That's actually quite good.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. Nice call, Johnny. That was good. I wouldn't have thought of that. That was good. We used a large hall and we tweaked the preset a little bit. We used around an 18% mix just to kind of shove some space underneath it, but not to wash it out too much. Any compression that we want to do for the fiddle, then we'll move on to our vocal. We're getting close. We're getting close. Then we can go back and tweak. Any compression on this fiddle? And if so,
yeah, no compress.
no compress? Is that what he said?
Yeah. The chat is basically saying no compression.
No compression. Right on. All right, good. Let's move over to the lead vocal. Remember, we got some compression happening on the master bus too. So our lead vocal now, let's get to the verse. So remember, we got some acoustic guitar vocal bleed, and then we have a lead vocal track. So
We should do it safe before we go any further, Dave.
Save. Yeah, I'm always doing that. It's saving, and I got it backed up every, I think, minute or 2 minutes. So I have auto backup. All right, so here we go on our lead vocal. Here's where we're starting from.
I bet you think you know the way to
Everyone's saying it sounds great so far.
Yeah, you guys done a good job. It's a good mix.
I bet you think it starts with a ring and a fancy car. I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way you are.
So there's our lead vocal, and again, it's louder than it should be because I'm just letting you guys make sure you all can hear it. So we have a nice, well performed vocal. What do we want to do? What do we want to start on? I know what I would do, but it doesn't matter what I would do because this is not my mix. But I know exactly what I would do to this vocal. So I'm interested to hear what all of our students out there that have been following us and been taking all the training courses, what would you guys do with this vocal? This one is obvious to me personally. I just know right away what I would do.
Me too.
High pass around 140. Okay, what kind of EQ do we want to use? Do we want to use a Pultec or do we want to use a Presonus Pro EQ?
Johnny Gives says channel strip preset to female vocal.
Anyone else? We can take the channel strip or we can do something different. What would you guys like to do?
Anyone second that channel strip?
Or do you want to do something different? You guys let us know.
I'm agreeing with the high pass filter though.
Yeah, oh yeah. We could play it back again.
I bet you think you know the way.
Yeah, Johnny says high pass at 140 will work. And we have a second for the channel strip.
I bet
We have a Pro EQ or channel strip. Which one, Johnny?
Channel strip.
Channel strip. Okay. Johnny Gibe and someone else said channel strip, so that's what we will do. We will channel strip it. All right. Here we go. So we want to what do we say about a 140?
140.
Low cut. 140.
bet you think it starts with a ring and a fancy car.
I think Johnny was also saying there's a female vocal preset on
Oh, there
here
is
as well.
female vocal preset. Okay. Vocals, I'm sure there is. Well, there is two of them. So I'm going to pick number one. Why not? And we'll listen to that. So here is the first, or no, yeah, female vocal 1.
I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way you are.
Oh, gosh.
But baby,
There's a
don't
lot of low end removed out of
I
that.
bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart.
And it's got the compressor in here too at about 65% on a fast attack.
It starts with a ring and a fancy car.
Too thin is the general consensus here.
Too thin. Okay.
I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way you are.
It's got yeah, I mean, it's got the high pass filter. But
Here's
it's also
another.
got-
I went to another preset. The second, there's two of them. The first one we listened to is female vocal 1. This is female vocal 2, which has a little more bottom end in it, and it doesn't have as much top end.
Oh, that sounds much better.
But baby, don't
And the compression's less too.
I bet you
A little bit.
think you know the way to a woman's heart.
So we have a high pass filter at about 110. We're doing compression, fast
I
attack,
bet you think it starts
about 56%. You can see this little red light here kind of flashing. That's the gain reduction kind of happening. On the rest of the EQ, we're doing a little bit of a boost at 375K, and a little bit of 12K as well.
starts with a ring and a fancy car.
Here's before the channel strip.
I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way you are.
After.
But baby, don't
Okay, folks are saying to turn off the high pass.
Turn it off. There we go.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart. I bet you think it starts with a ring and a fancy car.
How do we liking that?
I'm sure you
Yeah, Jesse Balfour says in capital letters, mucho better.
Mucho better. Excellent. Anyone else say it sounds mucho better? Good. Are we rolling in the right direction? I know it's a little loud. Are we happy with that EQ and compression sound?
Sounds nice and present.
Nice and yes, it does. So while we're kind of listening, everyone, if we kind of agree that that's kind of a nice vocal sound, this might be an opportunity to do a little A/B comparison. So that was a good call, the channel strip. Okay, if you were using a stock plugin. So let's just shut that channel strip off and let me show you what here's another option. Okay, so remember now we have two universal audio plugins only, the EQ and the compressor. Now, one thing you want to try to think about, again, regardless of the plugins that you're using, I guess if you're using all stock plugins, this maybe doesn't mean as much, but if you're using a mixture of any kind of third-party plugin or stock plugin, or if you have stock plugins where you have two compressors maybe in a stock plugin that one may sound slightly different, which once we get to the new releases of Studio One, you will have this, but you don't right now. So just follow along with me. The vocal in this song is the standout instrument, right? So whenever I'm looking at a mix, especially like this, way back in the beginning, remember if you were here yesterday when we pushed all the faders up and we said, before we put any plugins on, what's the first thing you should be asking yourself? Once you get through all the color coding and gain stage and all that technical stuff is out of the way, and we're listening to the music, you have to have a vision for the song of what you want this thing to be. Or if you have a client, what is their vision of the song? So, for example, what is the most important instrument in this song? In this song, it's the vocal, without a shadow of a doubt, right? So we want that vocal to sound special. We want it to sound unique. We want to put some extra secret sauce, if you will, on that vocal that's different from everything else in the mix to give it that tonal, tonal characteristic that's different than everything else. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday. Some of you were here yesterday, we talked about, why you would use one compressor over another because they both compress, yes, but they sound different tonally. Here's another example of that. So that channel strip sounds great. There's nothing wrong with that. But the rest of the mix is using the same EQs and compressors throughout the whole mix, pretty much, except for one other track. So what I would maybe say as a second option to that would be, why not take advantage of those two analog plugins and let's make this vocal sound different, not better, but different, and see if we can get it to stand out a little more from the rest of the mix. Because this vocal, she's got this real nice kind of intimate voice in the verse, and we want it to sit right up in front of the listener. Right, so here's maybe something we can think about. So I shut off the channel strip, and then we'll A/B them. And some will like one over the other, and we'll see. So what if we were to start with the Pultec EQ? Okay.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart. I bet you think it starts with a ring and a fancy car. I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way you are. But I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart. I bet you think it starts with a ring and a fancy car.
Okay, is this before?
I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way you are.
Okay, so what if we did something like that to kind of brighten up the vocal a little bit, right? And what if we were to follow that up with an LA2A, which usually sounds really good on vocals, especially female vocals. And let's do this.
But baby, don't. I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart. I bet you think it starts with a ring and a fancy car. I'm sure you got.
So I want you guys to listen to this first line.
I bet you think you know the
before the
way
compressor.
to a woman's heart. I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart.
Now we're going to bring the compressor in.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart.
Do you hear can you hear the way that, it's not louder, right? It's level matched, or it's pretty darn close. Without that compressor, that vocal kind of sits back in the mix. And as soon as you bring that particular compressor on, it sounds like her vocal comes right in front of your face, right? Almost like she's singing in your ear, right? Listen to that again. This is before.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart.
Now here's after.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart.
I don't know if you can hear that over YouTube, Johnny. You might be able to help me with this. So that brings that vocal very close to you, right? Now, if we were to
Really.
pin these up. Oops, I forgot to pin it. Pin it. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, do I have to do it this way? Oh, okay. Let me go this way. Sometimes I forget how they do this on this particular one.
I'm dealing with about a
There we
4-second delay here.
Okay, it's a little bit of a delay. That's okay. So now, without that EQ, or actually, no, we can do it this way now in Studio One because they fixed this problem, which is great. So, okay, so now I'm going to play that passage with the Universal Audio plugins, as you can see here, the Pultec and the LA2A. And then the second pass, I'm going to turn those off and I'm going to turn on the channel strip that we used originally. And listen for the differences, if you can hear the differences. Okay, so here's the Universal Audio stuff.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart.
But I'm going to give you a longer passage here.
I bet
All the
you
way through.
think you know the way to a woman's heart. I bet you think it starts with a ring and a fancy car.
Okay, now here's the original channel strip that we did.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart. I bet you think it starts with a ring and a fancy car.
And here's the Universal Audio again.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart. I bet you think it starts with a ring and a fancy car.
So do we hear the difference? And if you do, tell me what you hear, because I'm not sure what goes on over YouTube, Johnny. I don't know. What I'm hearing and what you guys might be hearing might be a little slightly different.
Yeah, I'm definitely agreeing that it definitely brings it right forward.
It brings it forward, and it opens up the top end, but it never gets brittle.
Yes,
And-
exactly.
Right, it gets very warm. And remember, we talked yesterday, for people that were here yesterday, we talked about these two. We picked these two Universal Audio plugins for a reason, because they're tube-based emulations. And when you're using tubes on an EQ especially, you could crank the top end on a tube EQ like a Pultec, and it never sounds harsh. You can't do that with any other kind of EQ. Okay, you can't open up that top on a stock plugin, or any other EQ really for that matter, because it gets very sibilant in that 8 to 10K range, and it gets very ear piercing. It hurts your ear. But with the Pultec, you can really bring a lot of air in, and it never sounds harsh. It always sounds smooth. You can hear her lips. You can hear her on those verses. You can hear the moisture between her lips. It feels like she's singing right in your ear. And so on a track like this, and again, the first one, when we first listened to it, wow, that preset sounds really good. It sounded really good. But now when you compare it, it sounds like that the channel strip, it almost sounds like the vocal collapses in a little bit and it sinks a little bit back. It sounds good, but it doesn't have that, it doesn't stand out in front and become the star of the show. And in this song, that's what this vocal needs, in my opinion. Now, either way, you could do this and they both sound great. I'm not trying to tell you the Universal Audio stuff is better. What I'm trying to impress upon our students here is that can you hear the difference because we talked this yesterday, right, Johnny? When you can hear the difference of what I'm trying to push onto you right now you have options, because now you wrap your head around, oh, that's what the difference is between this and this. And you may, for your particular track, if it's a different song, you may say, you know what, the universal audio stuff is a little too good. I need to sync it back a little, and maybe I would use the channel strip in that particular instance. It's being able to hear the difference. That's what I'm trying to get people to do. I'm not trying to convince you one is better than the other. I'm trying to tell you that there is a very big sonic difference, and this kind of goes into the theme we talked about yesterday. So I didn't want to interject too much of my own opinion in this mix. But I thought this was a good example, because you don't get many of these examples that come up like this. So again, hopefully that makes sense to everybody. And we can use whatever we want. We can go right back to the channel strip. That's totally cool. We don't have to use the other stuff. We'll just shut them off. So I don't know. Any thoughts on the chat room with that, Johnny? Or should we just move on to the vocal harmony?
Yeah, chat are basically saying that using the universal audio stuff makes sense for the lead vocal, because we've not really used them so much so far. So...
Right, so it's gonna give it a little bit of different. It's gonna sound a little different.
Yeah.
Okay, and we could do that. We can leave those on, and we could shut off the channel strip. No big deal. Okay, so now let's move on to the vocal harmony. That's our last track here, and then we could talk about whether we want to do some reverb or something on this vocal, if you guys want to do that. So here's our harmony, which I think she only does a couple of times. Yeah, in the chorus. So I'll mute the lead vocal so you can just hear the harmony here.
Ocean that will lead you back to shore. This ain't a mountain you have ever climbed before. This ain't a promise you can make and then ignore, 'cause you just ain't falling in love.
So there's our background vocal. What would we like to do to that, if anything? And now we're almost done. Guy's done a good job. Mix is starting to come together nicely. Excuse me. Anything on this background vocal?
Yeah, we're dealing with quite a delay with the chat here, I think.
Yeah, it's okay. We can wait. And then when people are looking at it on the replay, sorry if you're watching this in the archive. We have a little bit of a delay here. This is just a YouTube thing, but we are eventually going to move away from the YouTube thing, and we are going to do this in a much more effective way. News coming shortly. So if you dig this kind of stuff, don't worry, it'll get better. One thought while we're kind of waiting for the delay, Johnny, the other thing, as we were just talking about, is, if we wanted to use the universal audio stuff on the lead vocal, we could take that channel strip and drop it on the background vocal.
We could indeed.
So we can separate it that way. I mean, it's the same person singing. She's just singing an octave lower. But Johnny Guy was right about the preset. It sounded really good. And so we can try that. Let's try that.
On the ocean that will lead you back to shore. This ain't a mountain you have ever climbed before. This ain't a promise you can make and then ignore, 'cause you just ain't falling in love.
So that's width, and we could do before with no processing. Again, compressors around 56%. We can try cranking that up and just see what happens.
I like that it's on the fast attack.
Yes.
It kind of lets it sit back from the feature vocal, the main vocal.
You can make and then ignore, 'cause you just ain't falling in love. This ain't an ocean that will lead you back to shore. This ain't a mountain you have ever climbed before. This ain't a promise you can make and then ignore, 'cause you just ain't falling in love.
Well, I'll tell you, that compressor works pretty well on this. There's a couple of words there that without it, you kind of lose. It kind of gets real quiet, and it really brings it up and smooths it out kind of nicely. And I agree. I like the fast attack on this. What does the group think on this vocal? We're just using a preset for EQ. We can start from scratch. We were just picking a preset to get started. We're doing 110 roll off here. And it looks right around, what do we got here? About 3.5K. We're doing about a 3 dB boost, and then we're also doing a boost at around 12K at about almost 6 dB.
Yeah. Yeah, general consensus is that it sounds good.
Sounds good? Like to make a sound less mid. Someone says like to sound a little less mid-rangey. Mid-rangey. I like that word, mid-rangey. Well, let's do this. Let's start from start from scratch with this EQ, and let's do what we've done up to this point on the Pro EQ. Let's do some. Let's try to find those offending frequencies. So let's start up here, and we'll take this. Oh, we don't have an adjustable. Do we have an adjustable Q here?
There's a button there that says Adapt Q.
Oh yeah, look at that. And what is that? The mid? No, that's this. No, which? How do you make the Q?
Yeah, there's a button there that says Adapt Q.
Got it. Yep.
Yep. You just flick that on, and it's an adaptable Q. So I think it only.
Oh, I see. I see. As you bring it up, I see what it does. Okay. I didn't know that. Look at that. You learn something new every day. Okay. So.
This ain't an ocean that will lead you back to shore. This ain't a mountain you have ever climbed before. This ain't a promise you can make and then ignore, 'cause you just ain't falling in love. This ain't an ocean that will lead you back to shore. This ain't a mountain you have ever climbed before. This ain't a promise.
Well, around 1K, it took about 4 dB out. Get rid of some of that little nasally sound. I think that's what he might have meant by mid-rangey, sounding a little nasally. That seems to help a little bit. And what do you do if you take this off? Oh, okay, I see what it does. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right. How does that sound from an EQ point of view?
Yeah, except we just hit that nasal frequency.
Yeah. Now we should probably blend it in with the lead vocal, right? Because we're doing this in solo. So, because her lead vocal is an octave higher.
Yeah, she's singing thirds apart, a third below the lead vocal.
Say that again?
She's singing a third below the lead vocal.
Yep. She sure is. So it's just there to kind of thicken up that chorus part. What do we think about that? Are we okay with that background vocal as it is? We compressed it using the channel strip here, and then we did a little bit of EQ surgery there to kind of clean it up a little bit. We may have a little bit of a delay here on the chat. Okay. What we can do now that we sounds pretty good, you think?
Yes. Somebody's suggesting a de-esser.
On what? I mean, I know on a vocal, but which one? And I don't know. Does Universal Audio, does Presonus have a de-esser?
Not a specific de-esser, no.
My Lord. Okay, so you know how we fix that? Does anyone know how to fix that? I do, but let's see. We can do it the old-fashioned way. we won't go through the whole track, but we can do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, there's a preset in the compressor, I believe.
There is.
Yes.
In the regular channel strip, or in the?
Yeah, in the regular Presonus compressor.
Oh, see, I did not know that. Okay, let's find that. Now I want to find that. But it's going to change the EQ curve, right? Are we talking about the lead vocal, or are we talking about the vocal background, the background vocal?
Background.
Background. Okay, cool. Let's go find that compressor, because I didn't know there was such a thing. So let's find it.
It says the preset for it is in the gate.
In the gate. All right. Excellent. I didn't know that. Excellent. Okay. Compressor. Yeah. Here we go. Background vocal compressor. We're going to stick it after the channel strip. Excuse me. And we're going to go to the gate. Vocals. de-esser 1. He's absolutely right. How about that? I didn't know that. See that? You learn something new every day here. All right, good. Let's see what that does. I'll mute the lead vocal so we can kind of hear it.
You can make and then ignore, 'cause you just ain't falling in love. promise you can make and then ignore, 'cause you just ain't falling in love.
Oh, there's no S's there anymore. That's for sure. So it's doing a 12-to-1 ratio. We just brought the threshold way down, and we're compressing about 4 or 5 dB on that. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that was that. I didn't know that was. I didn't know this was there. That's really cool. I didn't know that.
There you go.
How does that sound, everybody? There's also another way to de-ess, by the way, in case you didn't have that. I'll shut the compressor off, and we'll show that quickly.
Yeah, do.
So if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, and actually I do this more times than I do it. I don't use a de-esser much because I don't like the way de-essers typically react. And so if you just have, now if you have tons of S's, well then use a de-esser. But if you don't have tons of S's, as a matter of fact, I'm going to mute the whole band except for this so we could kind of hear it. And I've done this on my YouTube channel too in a couple of videos. So if you ever want to go see this in another way.
Ain't an ocean that will lead you back to shore.
Okay, shore, right there. So what we do is let's make this track a little bit bigger so we can all see it. Okay? And then we're going to zoom in and we're listening for that S.
That will lead you back to shore.
Sure. If you were to come in and you were to zoom in on where that S is, which is right around here, you see how the audio form, the audio wave, let me bring it up, where it looks like you can see how the audio before it is kind of splits itself apart and then it kind of stays solid right here. It looks, I call it like a football. I know it's not a football, but that,
Sure.
where it gets solid, but it as you zoom out, it kind of splits apart before and after it. You see how the audio breaks apart here and you can see daylight, but you don't see daylight here on the S. That's the S. So, oops. So if you were to go in, come on,
Sure.
and take your blade tool and cut, take the snap off, cut before it and after it. And usually, oh, I know what I did. I changed the cameras. You know why? Because I'm using the numbers. Yeah, I know. See, I caught it that time. It's going to come back. Hold on. There you go. It's because I won't use the keyboard anymore. It's because I'm using the hotkeys. Okay, so you cut before and after the S, and then I just pull down the clip gain. Usually it's around 5 dB, 3 to 5 dB. Okay?
To shore.
And it softens up that S a lot.
Lead you back to shore.
As opposed to, I could have just done Command Z. I realized that.
Back to shore.
See how much more, it's a lot more obvious. Now these S's are not bad. In this song, it's not bad, but this is the way to do it.
To shore.
See how it softens it up a lot? So what I would do when I have a track that's sibilant heavy is before I do anything, it's one of the first things I do during the edit stage is I solo up the vocal tracks and I listen through the whole track in solo and I go through and I cut all those S's and I bring them all down. Now, and the other reason why you may want to do that before you compress an EQ, because as soon as you start compressing and EQing, especially if you're boosting on the top end, all those S's are going to become more obvious, right? Especially if you're up in that 7 to 10K range. So by kind of getting rid of them at the beginning, then when you compress an EQ, they're not as obvious. And then sometimes I'll do what Johnny suggests is I'll throw a de-esser on at the end just to kind of tighten them up. But I don't like my de-esser to be the main thing to do a lot of de-essing because it usually sounds artificial to me. It never sounds natural. So if you want to know how to, I call this manually de-essing. So that's how you manually de-ess.
I like to do it that way as well. But if, as you say, there's quite a lot of sibilance, then I will use a de-esser, but I tend to put it in before I do anything else.
Right.
So it's like the first line of attack is de-ess and then EQ and compress after.
Right. Yep. So it depends. This track's not too bad. So we got away kind of good, kind of easy on this one. So now if we just listen back to the whole song, because we've done everything up to this point. And while we're listening, I'll go to the master bus. We'll take a look at our compressor because we see what we're doing on that master bus.
The only other thing we've not done, Dave, is look at reverb for these vocals.
Okay, yeah, we can do that now if you want. So we have a reverb for one of the guitars. I think it was the lap steel, right? So if we want to do some reverb, we want to put it on as an effect, as a send. Is that what we want to do?
Same thing. Send it to the same thing. Why not?
Or we can send it to the same exact track that we did the lap steel. We can send it to that reverb, the same reverb.
Yeah.
which wouldn't be such a bad idea because it sounds like everything's in the same space.
Exactly.
Okay, so we can do that. Is that okay with everybody in the chat? I'm not watching the chat, Johnny. I hope you are, because I don't know what.
I am. Yeah.
Are they?
I am.
Okay, they're not cursing us out or anything. Okay.
No. There's delay, which I think is a bit of a frustration.
Yeah, it is a frustration. Don't worry. We're gonna fix all this. We're gonna get the hell up.
Okay.
Yeah, we're this. Yeah. What are you gonna do? Okay, so here's some reverb. Both vocal tracks kind of go into the reverb.
I bet you think you know the way.
Yeah, actually, de-essing use the lap steel reverb.
Okay, that's what we're doing.
I bet you think it starts with a ring.
So that's what we got for
fancy car.
We can give it a little more. We could back off the lap steel a little.
I'm sure you got a way, and you say that's just the way you are. But baby, don't you do what you're about to do. Just wait before you go too far. This ain't an ocean that will lead you back to shore. This ain't a mountain you have ever climbed before. This ain't a promise you can make and then ignore. 'Cause you just ain't falling in love. You're falling in love with a girl. You're falling in love with a girl.
Here's our bus compressor.
Playing with a fire that burns straight out of control.
About 3 dB.
And there ain't nothing you can do when it starts, but just let go.
Here's our bus EQ.
But baby, if you still wanna feel what it means to be alive,
Yeah, it's looking good.
then go ahead and do just what it is you do. But don't you go wasting my time.
Here's another trick for you. So this is the master bus EQ, right? And in the beginning, the group suggested we put a little bit of a shelf on, which we did at about 9K, about 3 dB. If you want instant clarity to your mix, you get to the end and you feel like, that's a little muddy, a little woolly sounding. Great little trick. 500 hertz, take 3 dB out and AB it back and forth, and instantly the mix has more clarity. Okay? Especially when you have acoustic guitar, lap steel guitars, where they're very similar in that mid-rangey area. So here's before. I just took a cut right here. So without the cut, here's what you get. And then listen to when I kind of toggle in and out, how it kind of clears up the mix.
This ain't an ocean that will lead you back to shore. This ain't a mountain you have ever climbed before. This ain't a promise you can make and then ignore. 'Cause you just ain't falling in love. It's not about winning, I'm not a trophy on your wall. It's not about giving up anything at all. This ain't an ocean that will lead you back to shore.
Hear that lead vocal? I just level matched the plug, and I know there was a volume difference. There isn't anymore. Listen to her vocal. I'm going to put it at the beginning of the verse, so it's just her. Listen to her vocal. Listen to what sounds like it's right here in her throat. It's almost like it's a, I don't know if it's nasally. I call it frog in the throat, but that's not what it is. She's a great singer. But it sounds very throaty to me, okay, when I bypass this cut.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart.
Now with the cut.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart.
You guys hear that difference? I'll play it again. Here's before before the cut.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart.
After.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart.
Hear how it clears up what sounds like it's up in here? It takes that little cloudiness out of her vocal. Now this is on the master bus, so it's just obvious there. But if we listen to the whole band, you get the same effect. So here's before, and I'll just kind of toggle in and out throughout the mix here so you can kind of hear what it does.
I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way you are. But baby, don't you do what you're about to do. Just wait before you go too far. This ain't an ocean that will lead you back to shore. This ain't a mountain you have ever climbed before. This ain't a promise you can make and then ignore, 'cause you just ain't falling in love. You're falling in love with a girl. You're falling in love with a girl.
It helps to fiddle too. It gets rid of some of that little wooliness there. So that's another trick you can try. And again, you can do it more than 3 dB, less than 3 dB. 3 dB is about a good starting point. But between that 400 and 500 hertz range on the master bus will instantly kind of clean up anything that sounds a little funky without having to go back into every individual track and trying to find out where the problem is. So just a thought. So how does everyone feel this mix has sounded? You guys did a great job working this thing, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? I think they did a fantastic job. Do we want to hear it from the beginning all the way through, and then we can make a couple of adjustments and we can wrap it up?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, here we go.
I bet you think you know the way to a woman's heart. I bet you think it starts with a ring and a fancy car. I'm sure you got a way and you say that's just the way you are. But baby, don't you do what you're about to do. Just wait before you go too far. This ain't an ocean that will lead you back to shore. This ain't a mountain you have ever climbed before. This ain't a promise you can make and then ignore, 'cause you just ain't falling in love. You're falling in love with a girl. You're falling in love with a girl. You're playing with a fire that burns straight out of control. And there ain't nothing you can do when it starts, but just let go. But baby, if you still wanna feel what it means to be alive, then go ahead and do just what it is you do. But don't you go wasting my time. This ain't an ocean that will lead you back to shore. This ain't a mountain you have ever climbed before. This ain't a promise you can make and then ignore, 'cause you just ain't falling in love. It's not about winning, I'm not a trophy on your wall. It's not about giving up anything at all. This ain't an ocean that will lead you back to shore. This ain't a mountain you have ever climbed before. This ain't a promise you can make and then ignore, 'cause you just ain't falling in love. You're falling in love with a girl. You're falling in love with a girl. You're falling in love with a girl.
And there we have it. Marcy Eaches falling in love with a girl. What do you guys think? I think it sounds pretty good. I think you guys did a great job. I really do. What do you think,
Yeah.
Johnny?
I think so. I think it's a really good mix.
Yeah, it's a good mix. You guys did a really good job. I mean, again, the majority of what we did was with stock plugins. We used a couple of the Universal Audio plugins on the lead vocal and on the drum bus. And I think on the acoustic guitar, we added a little bit of Pultec after the Pro EQ just to kind of brighten it up a little bit. And other than that, this is pretty much a stock plug-in mix. Again, pretty simple, well-recorded track, and that always helps. So I don't know how you guys feel about it. What I probably will do over the next day or so is I'll mix it down and I'll put it up on the Facebook page as our second song that we've done together. What do you guys think in the chat room? What's the chat? What do we got? About 18, 20 people still hanging around or so?
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, I don't know how long we've been going for. We're going a little over an hour this time.
Yeah, we have a little bit.
That's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to, instead of having 2 separate days in the future, we'll do it all in one sitting. And then what I'll do in edit and post is I will cut the videos up. So we have maybe part 1, part 2, or part 1, 2, 3. So when you're watching them in the archive, you're not having to watch a 3 or 4 hour video. And if you're with us from the beginning, you can help us mix the whole song, which didn't happen today because some of the people that were here yesterday are not here today, and vice versa. So that is our song for this month. That was really cool. Let me get Johnny back on the screen here. And then I'll try to get Johnny back on the screen here. Well, I got to bring Skype back up. Yeah, I can do it. I just got to get my mouse, Johnny, back on the screen. And then I got to switch cameras to camera number 5. Up. I don't know what that was. Oh, the dial pad Skype. I'll tell you. Too many programs, too many windows. But yes, we should be side by side now.
There we go.
So does anybody have any questions? Anything you guys want to ask or talk about before we kind of wrap it up? Again, thanks so much. Yeah, we've been on about an hour and 45 minutes, which is about an hour or so later than we thought, but that's okay. No big deal.
We got the song done, and I didn't really see any point in, splitting it up again. So
yeah, no, and we also got a chance to talk about a couple of things, a couple of production things and a couple of things with EQ and compression, which I think was good. When those opportunities come up, it's good to kind of try to, point that out to folks. So that's good. Anything that anyone wants to ask Johnny? Anything, what do we got going on in the chat?
Okay. Bojan says, I think maybe next time if you do all this again, you could choose really bad recordings from old channels and see how we can save the song.
Yes. Yes. The first couple of that we did, last time we did a live recording. It was live. And so we had some inherent problems with that one. This one, I wanted to do something that was more well recorded because I wanted to do some of these demonstrations with compression in particular, because typically when the tracks are recorded well, when you're trying to listen for, differences in compressors and tone and stuff, it's a much easier thing to hear as opposed to a track. But no, I point well taken, and we will definitely do that. We will look for some tracks that are not so, I got plenty of stuff that's not recorded all that well. Don't worry. I have an abundance of those, much more so than I have of the stuff that's recorded like what we worked on today. So finding a track that's not recorded well will be fairly easy for me to do. So that's no problem. And yeah, if you guys like this, again, we're going to do this every month. We already got the next one scheduled. I think we said it was June 17th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard. That's a Saturday. We're going to try to do the second Saturday of every month for interactive mixing, and then the third Saturday or the last Saturday of the month for the actual live stream that we do, where we'll do some more mixing stuff, but won't be kind of interactive except for you guys can ask a bunch of questions. Excuse me. We'll just have, specific lessons kind of mapped out. And so that's what we'll be doing. So that'll be really cool.
Yeah.
And again, this will all, for people that are coming in late, this will all be in the archive sitting on the YouTube channel. If it's not up there in the next hour or so, it'll be up there by tomorrow morning, be completely unedited. So you'll have to sit through some of the delay and all that. But again, it is YouTube and it is free and it's still good instruction, I think, either way. So hopefully you guys will get something out of it. Anything in parting, Johnny, that you want to bring up, mention, or?
Well, I think that so far we've done 2 songs and we've done 2 very different songs, very different mixes. And I think the big takeaway is, kind of serving the song with what you do when you're mixing. What we've done here is actually fairly minimal mixing.
Yes.
We've not over-processed. We've not chucked the kitchen sink at anything.
Right.
And it served the song beautifully. It's brought out all the best features of the song.
Right.
Where the previous one, we had to do much more remedial work.
Yes.
And so I think there's been a nice progression between the two. So it would be really good to find something that, actually requires a lot more, of kitchen utensils.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. You're right. You made a good point, though. Again, we talked about, serving the song, which really, not and having a purpose for what we're doing, right? So if we're going to use EQ and compression, let's listen to each track, and then we should be asking ourselves, well, do we need to do that? We don't need to just put a compressor on every track just because,
Yeah.
there's a lot of times where you would do that. And again, you got to think about, well, why am I compressing, or am I using it for tone, or both, and then so that'll help make some of those decisions. So you're right, listening to the song and just doing what needs to be done on a song like this that's well recorded. It doesn't need a whole lot to begin with. I think we listened to the rough mix yesterday, right, when we first popped it up, and we said, well, you could almost just do a static mix and walk away. It's,
Yeah.
you could have done a static mix and put a reverb there and said, we're good. You didn't really have to do much. And that's why this song didn't really require much, unless we were really trying to change the, the way the song sounded, which we didn't really want to do. So yeah, no, I agree that, well, the next time we'll do something that requires a little more work.
Yeah.
And
that'd be good.
And then maybe we'll open up the plugins to something where we have some of those other tools that we don't really have these first two mixes. We'll add some other goodies in the goodie bag, so we have some more choices of what we want to use. But what I want to do, though, and hopefully people have to be cool in the chat, because we're gonna teach it the way we want to teach it. If we're gonna have a bunch of choices, now we're gonna ask not just what do you want to use, but we're gonna ask you why. Right.
Yes.
And if you don't know why, that's okay. This is a learning process. So it's not just about you telling us what to do and we'll move all the faders. That's the main gist of it. But really, it's really more to educate on, if we have 4 or 5 equalizers and you decide to pick the SSL EQ, there should be a reason other than it's an SSL EQ. Well, why? Why would you pick that one over the other one? And if we're not sure why, then we'll get into, and I think we're going to do this in the next live stream, which is next week. We talked about having some examples of using the same, EQ on different tracks and listening back and forth, kind of like what we did today with the LA2A and the Pultec versus the channel strip, and saying, what's the difference sonically? Is there a difference? So you can start to decide why you'd want to pick one over the other. It just, or just instead of just grabbing it and just throwing it on there because, so that, I think that's the way we want to move forward. We want to try to pass along some of the little tips and the little nuggets that we've learned over the years to help.
Yeah.
And so as those things come up, and I really want, hopefully, folks to really start to get the understanding of why. Not just what we're doing, but why are we doing what we're doing? Because as I said before, and I've said it a million times, that once you understand that, and not just understand it conceptually, because we all, people are smart, they can understand, but when you can hear what we're talking about, that's where all of a sudden it's going to be like a cloud is lifted off your shoulders. And anyone in the chat that's at that level now, that's gone through the process that I'm talking about, and you're at that level where you actually can hear the differences and you know why you would choose an 1176 compressor over an LA2A, and you know what the differences are, and you know that on a snare drum I would use one over another, and there's a reason for why you would probably use one over the other. When you're at that level, you already know that, wow, now you've just opened up a whole world of possibilities that you didn't have before. And now what you really hear in your head, you can make happen in the computer, right? So part of this is trying to, what you hear in your head, we want it to sound what you hear, and how you get there is all these things that we're talking about. So
yeah,
I hope everybody's cool with that. At least that's the way we'll try to go. And if everybody yells and screams at us, then we'll turn direction. So anyhow,
well, people are saying it's a cool idea, and they're thanking us for the the session. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, thanks so much again. And again, tune in this coming Saturday for another live stream. It won't be interactive mixing, but we'll be hanging and we'll talking about gear and all that stuff. So come hang out with us at 8 p.m. Eastern, right on YouTube. We'll get on here. We'll chat. Maybe Johnny Guy will be around. We'll drag him in on Skype and have him hang out with us as well. If he's still floating around here, I don't know. Johnny, if you are, thanks for stopping by. And then again, go to the Facebook page. You'll see the final mix of this song up probably by tomorrow. And that'll be it.
Can I make a little recommendation?
Yes.
If you folks have the chance, as soon as we signed off and gone offline here, go over to Johnny Guy's YouTube channel and get on his live stream because he has just started. So
oh, cool. He did. Okay, I'm going to go over there myself. I'm going to grab some dinner and then I'm going to go over there and I'm going to hang out with you guys as well. Yes, definitely go over there and support Johnny as well. He's always doing good stuff over there, and we'll all be doing some stuff together once we can get all our schedules lined up.
Absolutely.
So anyway, thank you again, everybody. We still have 14 people hanging out. Thanks again. I really do appreciate it, and we will see you hopefully next Saturday night at the live stream.
Looking forward to it.
Signing off. Take care.
Cheers.